Welcome to Aphra's Artifacts, where we do some archaeology of our own and dig into the queer side of Star Wars. I'm your host, Alia Morgaine, and it's so great to have you here. Well, today we are continuing our discussion of Kaeden Larte, who you can read about in the Ahsoka novel by E.K. Johnston, which is a great read, well worth the time spent reading it, even though some of it has been retconned. I tell you what, Kaeden is a fantastic character, and we're going to be delving into some of the turmoil she deals with in her head throughout everything that is going on Raada. So it's a great book. And you'll see some of that in this discussion. So the Empire has just arrived, and everyone is kind of wondering why Ahsoka is still staying around. Why she's not just jetting off because she has a ship. Why is she not leaving? And I mean, we all know she feels a sense of a need to help, a need to be there for people, especially after what happened on the previous planet where she just kind of left. So she wants to make sure that she does the best she can with the ability she has to protect the people that she's come to care for. And Kaeden says, I'm glad you're staying. I don't know why, but I get the sense you're useful in situations like this. Now, I will tell you now, there is a lot more to it than just usefulness that Kaeden feels towards Ahsoka. But the fact that Ahsoka seems to understand some of what the Empire is doing, some of what they might do, their tactics, their policies, and also just her ability to be a mechanic, her ability to be diplomatic, to do different things that Ahsoka does, make her useful as well in this particular situation. So Miara is Kaeden's sister. And Miara has made locks for Ahsoka that give a shock to whoever does not disarm them correctly. And she explains to Ahsoka how her lock mechanisms work. And then this is where things get kind of hinky. Vartan, who is the farming crew lead who watched over Kaeden and Miara as they grew up after they were orphaned, asks if they could use a bigger charge. In other words, if the lock mechanisms could do some serious damage to whoever was not able to disarm them correctly. And this kind of sets off a chain of events that leads to what we will get to in a minute. So why is this such a big deal? Why are they trying to rebel against the Empire? I mean, it is the Empire, but there is a specific reason. So the Imperials have brought in seeds of their own. Now remember, Raada is a farming moon, and it doesn't really have that much arable land, but the arable land is being used for crops to feed people. And so the Imperials have brought in seeds of their own, and the overseers are going to add 2 hours to every harvesting shift to get all of the Raada crops harvested and out of the ground so the new Imperial seed can be planted ASAP. Now, that makes you wonder, why in the world would the Imperials be so dead set on getting these seeds planted? Well, it's because the crop isn't even technically food, but is very high in nutrient content. It actually sucks the soil dry of anything that makes it viable soil. In other words, once this plant grows to maturity and is harvested, that land is dead. It cannot be used again. So this will completely destroy the economy, the livelihood of the people on Raada. And Ahsoka convinces the farmers to slow down planting of the new crop as much as possible, just to kind of put some, obstacles in the working gears of everything, slow everything down. But eventually, once they find out what the new crop actually is, then they're like, look, we can't keep doing this. We have to plant this, and this is a problem, and we can't let this continue. Now, what is the crop being used for? It's being used for Imperial rations. So high nutrient content going in these Imperial rations that don't necessarily need to be real food. So the workers are determined to start bombing the Imperials, and Ahsoka's very against this. She's like, we need to take this slow. We need to be very careful about how we handle this because the Imperials are dangerous. And they eventually go behind Ahsoka's back, much to the reluctance of Kaeden, who, when she voices her concerns about them going behind Ahsoka's back, everyone points out that she isn't seeing reason because she likes Ahsoka. That she isn't seeing the mysteriousness of Ahsoka's even being there because she likes Ahsoka. Now, I'm going to read you a little bit of narrative from this novel that follows all of this. And in this, when they refer to Ahsoka, they refer to her as Aphra, because that is how she introduced herself to them. So, Kaeden is seeing that Miara is building these explosives. So her sister is doing what she was asked and is making these mechanisms have bigger charges. She's making true explosives. And it says Kaeden was a little sickened by how easy it was for Miara to build but the more powerful explosives. So that's pretty scary. And then it goes on. It's a good combination, I think, Miara said as she worked. She was oblivious to her sister's distaste, or else she was willfully ignoring it. Ashla's bombs are good for the joints of Imperial walkers of blowing doors open. Hoban's will clear our path wherever we need to go. What if there are people where you're clearing? Kaeden asked. It's like turning your thresher loose, only it's people who get cut up instead of crops. For the first time, Miara hesitated. Then her expression hardened. It's us or them, she said. She didn't sound 14 anymore. Kaeden, we don't have a choice. And, I mean, you're talking about the Empire. Do they have a choice? Is there a choice in that? I don't know. So, it goes on, and I'm going to read straight from the book. So, we have where they're talking about, so Kaeden, we don't have a choice. And then it says, in just the narrative part, Kaeden didn't say anything. She'd spent a couple of hours the day before, after their shift was over, trying to talk Miara out of Hoban's plan, but it hadn't done any good. Every time she tried, Miara countered with an example of a time someone on Raada had helped them before they were old enough to help themselves. Kaeden felt each one of those debts like a weight around her neck. Before she was old enough to work full shifts, it had been kindness and generosity that kept her and her sister fed and let them keep their family house, the one their parents had built when they decided to settle on Raada. It wasn't much, but Kaeden liked making breakfast on the stove her father had used, and she liked fixing the walls her mother had built, even if she wasn't her mother's match when it came to construction. Miara knew how Kaeden felt, and for the first time was absolutely merciless in leveraging it against her. By the time she'd given up and gone to bed, Kaeden had almost been the one to change her mind. Then she dreamed of Tobola getting shot, only it was Vartan getting shot in his place, and then Miara, and then Asha, all while Kaeden had to watch. So because Miara was coming at Kaeden from this perspective of, these people have been there for us for years, and they have done amazing things for us. And Miara was almost the one to change Kaden's mind into thinking, oh, maybe this is the only answer. So, then we go to this. I wish she'd tell us where her ship is, Miara said. And of course she's talking about Ahsoka. And Kaeden says, I wish you'd tell her about the bombs, Kaeden fired back. But you won't. So stop complaining. I just don't know why she's so eager to help, Miara said, echoing Nira from the evening before. She could leave whenever she wants. Do you want her to go? Kaeden asked, all but daring her sister to voice the taunt about Caden's feelings for Asha that had so far been left unspoken. Miara didn't take the bait. Of course not, Miara said. She knows more about this sort of thing than anyone else on Raada does. I just want her to tell us how she learned it. Well, Kaeden said, maybe give her some more time. I think whatever happened to her was very bad, and she doesn't want to talk about it yet. Miara made a non-committal sound and went back to the intricacies of her engineering work. Kaeden ran a finger along a line on the map, one that delineated a steep-sloped gully. That was where she'd hide a ship, if she had a ship to hide. She wasn't about to share that information with Miara, though. So Kaeden clearly has figured out where Ahsoka has stored her ship, but she is not going to tell Miara, because she still feels like she needs to protect Ahsoka. Maybe because she likes her. We know that she likes her. We're just not there yet. But I think also she realizes what Ahsoka has done for them, and she feels a little bit of loyalty towards Ahsoka as well. So clearly she's got a lot going on in her mind. Her 14-year-old sister is making bombs. She's got a lot she's having to deal with. And I just love how complex her character is. I think it's really great. And it gives her a lot of depth. So we'll be continuing this discussion in a part 3. I'm kind of taking this one slow because there's a lot that I want to talk about and I don't want to make a super long episode. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a little bit about Kaeden Larte. And be sure to comment down below if you would like to add to the discussion. I would love to hear your thoughts. And remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter at AliaMorgaine, and peruse my blog at thestarwarsreview.blogspot.com. May the Force be with you.